welcome to the Monday evening.
Ball like I do after dark. It's a must listen.
That's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Welcome to a Friday night edition of the Field of 68 After Dark from the Wells Fargo Center, where we saw Villanova earn a top 20 win over Marquette earlier tonight, 81-66. Rob Dauster is here. Jeff Goodman is here, and I'm John Fanta, and we've got a loaded show for you tonight. We'll talk about Michigan State and Michigan shortly. The Spartans trying to close out what would be a huge road win and right on the cusp of it. But we begin tonight with what we just saw from Philadelphia, a Marquette team that entered the game at 11-4 in the Big East, tied for second with Creighton. And in the standings, in the race to try to get to St. John's, they're pretty much done in that idea because they lost tonight by 15. They didn't have it from the jump. A wire-to-wire win for Villanova on a night where Villanova hit 15 three-pointers. Jeff, Marquette, though, has lost 4 of their last 6 games, and they're a top 20 team. After starting 9-1 in the Big East, how concerned are you about the Golden Eagles?
About as concerned as Shaka Smart was when we talked to him a few minutes ago, and he is concerned because this team is not playing like the team that we saw early in the season. They're not playing with a sense of urgency. They're not great defensively right now, which is what their MO was, right? I mean, when they play and they're active and they're tough and they're energetic, this was not that team. I don't know where that team went. And I was wrong about this group. Because in the preseason, I didn't rank him in the top 25. I was probably the only idiot who didn't. But over the last few weeks, they have not played like a top 25 team.
I think the problems are twofold, Fanta. I think one of the biggest issues is that they are a team that relies on ball pressure and forcing turnovers to try to be able to make their defense work, right? And they do so much in transition out of it. And they don't really have the level of rim protection that you want for a team that's playing that way. And I think what kind of happens is, it is a result, instead of having a rim protector that's going to block everything in and around the basket, they kind of got to overhelp. They kind of got to get out of their defensive rotations, and that leaves them susceptible to some open threes. And that's what we saw tonight. I think the other part of it is, offensively, the concept of this team is put a bunch of shooters around Cam Jones and let Cam Jones go one-on-one, get a paint touch, and kick it out to people that are going to knock down threes. And they're shooting 32% from three this season. Yeah. They're 8th right now in the Big East in three-point shooting percentage, right? They're below their season average in the Big East. They're shooting 31% from three in Big East play. That's not going to get it done.
No, and it does feel like right now, Shaka Smart said it could be fatigue, but that's something that everybody's dealing with. But I'm getting that sense just watching Cam Jones. He was tasked with so much for this team between being a distributor, which Shaka Smart said he would be. He's got over 100 more assists than he does turnovers. That's impressive. But this was a guy who, through the first 2 months of the season, was a consensus first-team All-American, and he's off the first team now if you put it together today. Tonight, it took him 11 shots, and he had 10 points. It just feels like, Jeff, and this is what's going to be interesting about Marquette's offseason, not to say that they can't win a tournament game, not to say that they still couldn't do something in March, but it feels like that by going with just continuity, and not going into the portal, and Shaka Smart has preached about how much he loves doing that, it feels like they're just missing some pieces here.
Well, by not going to the portal, they had an advantage over everybody else early, and they took advantage of that, right? They jumped out, and we were all blown away by how well they played. They knew their roles. Cam Jones played like an All-American. I think, again, he's got too much on his plate, and you could tell he's not the same player because he's got to do everything for this team. It's too much for him right now.
Yeah, and the other problem is that I don't think it's necessarily too much. I just think that you can throw multiple bodies at him and you're not going to get burned, right? Like the idea of what should make this defense work or make this offense work is having guys like David Joplin at the 4 and Ben Gold at the 5 who are going to pull you away from the basket and make you pay if you send your big guys to the rim to overhelp. And those guys are like David Joplin shooting, 30% from 3 right now? I think that Ben Gold is
just hasn't had the year.
Yeah, he's just been ineffective. Yeah. So I think that Shaka.
So should he have gone to the portal? That's the big question that I have is you knew what you had, right? So you had confidence, and there's such a thing as loyalty. Tom Izzo, Michigan State just won. He's had loyalty as well, and a lot of people kind of faulted him for it.
By the way, didn't just won. He just won by 13.
Yeah,
Tom Izzo just took out the vacuum and rolled past Michigan. Did you get the reference?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll get to that in a few moments. Continue.
Yes. The Dustbuster came up a little short in this one. I think the biggest thing for me for Marquette is you don't have to go crazy with the portal. Okay.
Did you just call Dusty May the Dustbuster?
Yeah.
Well, it worked well with the
vacuum.
vacuum. It did.
Exactly.
It did. I prefer a bizzle.
I think the biggest thing is Shaka bet on player development and bet on the guys in his program taking a significant step,
Which is refreshing in this current climate. In that moment,
it is. And some of the guys did. Like I think Stevie Mitchell has gotten better. I would make the argument that Chase Ross has gotten better, but Ben Gold didn't take the leap that you needed him to replace a guy like Oso Ighodaro, right? David Joplin is still the same guy he's been for 3 years, which is someone that could give you 20 on any given night, that could also give you a 2 for 19 shooting performance on any given night, and you just don't know what you're going to get from him. So
this wasn't the Marquette team, though, that, again, we fell in love with this year.
No.
And again, where has that team gone? That's my biggest thing.
Well,
I wonder if getting off to the start they got off to, they started to kind of feel themselves a little bit. 19-3, you're 9-1 in the league. Everybody's saying how good you are. You get away from what made you great, which is playing harder than everybody else.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. I think part of it is they've been a little bit figured out. Teams know what they have to do to stop them now, and it's kind of snowballed to the point where you lose 3 in a row, and a run where you lose 4 out of 6, you cost yourself a chance at a Big East regular season title. Your only wins in the last 2 are DePaul and I'm sorry, Fanta, Seton Hall.
Right.
And it might just be a confidence thing. Like you could be warm.
No, they're not all the way there mentally.
Yeah,
you could sense early on tonight they weren't engaged. Now, they've taken the last 8 meetings before tonight over Villanova. And I'm sure there's a part of you when you're walking in here tonight, you're saying, well, we've beaten Villanova. All we've done the last couple of years is beat Villanova. They're probably checked out now. They came up short to UConn. They got blown out by Providence. I will say this about Villanova. You want to talk about coming ready to play and offensively executing your stuff against a top 30 defense from an efficiency standpoint. It looks a lot better when the shots go in. But two things happen tonight. Jamir Brickus had 21 points. He started 5 for 5 from 3. Jordan Dumont, a freshman who was in Canada and then Chattanooga and redshirted last year, he entered the game with 14 points in the entire season. Tonight he had 15.
He was 4 for 7 from 3 in his college basketball career and was 4 for 4 tonight. Look, if Kyle Neptune had coached this team to shoot 15 of the first 23 threes all season long, Villanova would be undefeated right now.
Could Nova be a dark horse of the Big East tournament? Could they do something?
Why not?
Tell me why.
Again, you have 2 of the best. Now, Wilga Poplar wasn't great tonight, but you've got Eric Dixon, who's as good as any player in this league. And again, Poplar
any
had
player
been
in
playing
the country.
great.
Any player in the country.
Right.
Eric Dixon is a leading scorer in college basketball on a team that's like 350th in pace. Like he's awesome.
Poplar had been great. Brickus showed what he could do. And, again, I'm not sure the kid from
Dumont.
Yeah, listen, shout out to
Are you telling me he's not going to go 4 for 4 from 3 every single night for the rest of the season?
Pretty sure he's not going to end
But
up
Jeff's right. They have 2 of the best players in the league, and when they're shooting like they did early, then the defense was
Brickus
locked
is the
in, and
guy.
they locked in on Jones
like,
early.
Brickus is that guy, right? Like if and again, he's not going to do what he did tonight, but he can put a lot of pressure on the defense, right? He can get to the basket. He can shoot it from 3. A really good shooter.
Doesn't turn the ball over either.
No, they don't
I
turn
think
it
the
over.
other thing, well, they don't turn it over, but Marquette only. Villanova has 7 turnovers tonight.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem.
They put no pressure on them.
No, but here's the problem with that. How long have we been saying How long have we been saying Villanova has the talent to do X, Y, Z?
3 years.
Villanova has the
3
talent
years we've been saying
to be able to make a run.
Listen.
Villanova has the pieces to be able to be one of the better teams in the
It's
Big
hard to
East.
believe this is not an NCAA tournament team.
And look, you see,
Haven't we been saying that for 3 years now?
Well, hold on.
They've had the resources. They've had enough talent. To me, they should certainly be in the equation with Creighton.
What did you want us to
number
hang
four
on
spot.
to? What would you want us to hold on?
no, they've beaten St. John's in this building. Was it?
It was
in the Finn. In the
yeah.
Finn. Sorry, in the Finn. But that was a week ago, right? They just beat Marquette.
They have 4 ranked
They
wins.
beat UConn.
4 ranked
at
home
the
wins.
Finn.
Yep.
Right? We see what their ceiling can be. So my question is, how come you're not getting that against Columbia at the start of the season? St. Joe's I can write off because St. Joe's is a rivalry game, and that was at the Palestrin. Anything can happen in a game like that. St. Joe's, you can make the argument overall might have more NBA talent than Villanova does. That one you can write off. But a Columbia lost,
Virginia.
losing to this Virginia team.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't be losing to Providence this year if
You
you're
can't.
Villanova
No,
and you're
right.
trying to make the tournament. Like that. That's the stuff. It's not when they have their best moments that makes you concerned. It is why can't they do that every single night? And that's the thing that has to be frustrating if you're a Villanova.
So now, quick Big East standings look here. St. John's is at 14-2, and they welcome in UConn on Sunday. These guys will be at the Garden with full coverage of that one. Creighton is 11-4 in second place. Marquette is 11-5. And now this makes it interesting because Connecticut is 10-5, and they still get Marquette at home. And I'm talking seeding here for a moment because Xavier's in 5th, and it still looks like Xavier has a track to get that 5 seed and be in a 4-5 game. If I'm Sean Miller and I'm Xavier, I would rather play Marquette in the first round of the Big East tournament than have to play a pseudo road game at the Garden against Connecticut at 2:30 in the Big East tournament. The next couple of weeks in this league are going to be interesting with the seeding thing because I do think Villanova and Georgetown in the back half of this league could show up to the Garden and package something together. Xavier's in our first 4 out. They're in our first 4 out right now.
Xavier's the one I don't want to like. If I'm
Tell me why.
Because they have the guards to be able to go out and win a game any
they got
given night.
Fremantle.
And they got Fremantle. Like Ryan Conwell and Davian McKnight and Dante Maddox and who's the kid from Furman?
Marcus Foster.
Like they're going to show up and they're going to have guards that could go out and win a game for them against anybody in this league, and that includes St. John's.
It's just the coach. The coach holds the
Their coach is overrated.
He's a big Steeler fan, and
Well, there's just nobody in the league that you're scared of other than, again, playing St. John's at the Garden in the Big East tournament. That's the only one. I mean, UConn scares you a little bit, too, because of the Garden and because of, obviously, what they've done. But they're not.
Kalkbrenner doesn't scare you.
Well, I mean, again, anybody – Villanova can go on a run. There's no reason if you're Kyle Neptune, you're not thinking, hey, I could save my job here, and we can win these last 3 games that are all winnable, and then make a run to even the Big East title game, and you're probably on the right side of the bubble at that point. In fact, I think you definitely are.
And I do think that, and I agree with that, and I do think that Micah Peavy and Thomas Sorber, provided that he's healthy, and those guards and the way they defend, they could be an interesting team in this league. But I think that's the interesting part about this game tonight, is you're seeing a Marquette program that you do wonder if Shaka Smart, as much as he has said, look, we cultivate having continuity, developing our players. Jeff, in this climate, to not portal at all feels really hard. It just feels very difficult to not do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's rare, right? You just don't see too many guys do that. But Shaka is different that way. Shaka is different. Matt Painter, Tom Izzo, there's a sense of loyalty and development that go into this right now. And I think ultimately Shaka felt like he had enough guys that would make the jump, that already, again, he saw enough of last season to feel pretty good about. And I think a part of him, too, is I want to reward the guys in the program with NIL rather than go out and pay a kid that maybe hasn't done anything for this program and added any blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to give the guys that have worked for it, that have committed to me, I'm going to be loyal and commit back to them, which, again, like it's a great thing. But, yes, it probably held Tom Izzo back last year, and it might hold Shaka back this year a little bit.
On the idea of not portaling at all.
Look, I respect the guys that make that bet.
I do too. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I like
Now-
disrespect. I just think it's really hard.
Now, if I'm Shaka, one of the things that I'm thinking about now is how I don't think that it's wrong, and I don't think that it would ruin Shaka's culture, and I think you can say the same thing about Matt Painter. If he went into the portal and grabbed one piece that would be able to essentially fix some of the issues that they have, right? Like if you go into the portal and you get a mid-major big that can defend the rim a little bit and space the floor a little bit and is a senior and is a veteran and is a little bit more physical, that probably wouldn't hurt. If you can get one more shooter, one more 3-and-D type on the wing that is an upperclassman that's maybe 6'5", like, and get a piece like that, I don't think it messes up with your chemistry to do that. Like, look at what happened with UConn last year. That's the perfent example, right? Only got one.
He was a little bit different. He was a different dude.
He was, but it's not like Cam Spencer went into the portal and everybody was like, "This is a guy that could change the national champions and allow them to go out and be a back-to-back."
Let's give a different example of a guy who hasn't made a huge impact this year, but they brought in one transfer, and that is Tom Izzo, and it was Frankie Fiddler, and it's been fine. Like, he hasn't been a game changer, but like, I don't think it destroyed the chemistry or anything like that. You picked the right guy at maybe taking a risk a little bit and saying, you know what, I'm not sure at this spot. Let me take a guy and see if it works out. Well, again, Frankie Fiddler's had his moments. You know, he's had his moments this year, but he's certainly not a guy who's taken 30 minutes from anybody.
Yeah, and having a piece that can help out fill some of those roles, I think is probably something that could be really helpful for certain teams. I can make like we haven't talked about Purdue tonight. That Purdue's on a little bit of a losing streak here, and I think that you can say the same thing. That when it comes to Marquette,
Right.
the same thing with the Boilermakers. Like,
great
if you get a guy, like, to me, the void on this Purdue roster is, and I'm not going to say anything with rim protection because Daniel Jacobson goes down with the injury early in the year. I think that
He would have provided it.
He would have helped.
Yeah.
You almost
To me,
forget that happened.
Totally did.
Yeah.
Until he said it.
Yeah.
Until he said it.
But he
Look
was-
at him
like,
bringing.
Yeah.
This was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bringing
see,
a little insight to the
someone's
show.
got a little bit of ball knowledge here. And
Good thing you dressed up, too.
I know, right?
We're back in person.
This is
Back in Philly.
This is a Vori t-shirt. This t-shirt probably costs like $65 or
Cost
something like that.
From
$27.99.
Pennies?
No, we
Jase
got it
Penny.
at Costco.
Oh,
My wife got
You
it
have
for
good
me.
clothes.
My wife got it for me for Christmas. They do. I actually have Costco jeans on.
There
any
Yeah.
place
There
with
you go.
clothes and
Incredibly-
samples, we have to break 15 seconds. So wrap
Look,
your
I'll
point.
just say this: if Purdue went in the portal and got a guard that could stop dribble penetration and could get somebody off the bounce and get to the rim himself, I
Lance
think
Jones.
that
Lance
yes,
Jones.
I think that could have changed some of what they were this season. I understand why these guys don't want to do that, but I think at some point you have to look at results from this year and evaluate whether or not you want to do the same thing next season in the transfer.
To
offseason.
speed date or not to speed date, and what do you allocate your money towards? That is today in college basketball. Coming up, we go to the Big Ten. Oh boy, a battle of the top two teams in this conference in Ann Arbor. Fresh off of Dusty May getting a contract extension, which we'll talk a little bit about because there's some implications involved with all that. And who should be the next head coach at Indiana University? All that and more coming up on After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68. Bet insurance tokens, odds boosts, and what I love, a nice parlay boost or two here or there. Be sure to keep your eye out in the app for the Field of 68 specials that we'll be running throughout the season as well. So go download the BetMGM app to sign up today. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light.
How about those Michigan State Spartans as we welcome you back to the Field 68 After Dark? They outscore Michigan 41-24 in the second half. They beat the Wolverines, their rival, in Ann Arbor, 75-62. Michigan State's in first place, the Big Ten. They are at 13-3, and we now go to Ann Arbor. Jase Richardson, he knows what this rivalry means. 21 points tonight. Jase, I see a big smile on your face. What does this win mean to you and your team when you can go in there and beat Michigan?
It means a lot to us. I mean, we knew coming in that they were the number one team in the conference, and we knew that we had to set the tone, especially coming into their home. So it's a huge confidence booster for this team.
That is in the background. Hopefully it's not his. It
No.
Hey, what's it been like for you over the last few weeks? You guys came off a little bit of a stretch where you lost 3 or 4, and then you rebounded with 3 huge wins, and you've been terrific in these victories. What's allowed you to kind of make that jump here in your freshman season when you've gotten the opportunity?
I think it's my teammates and my coaches. They're putting me in positions to be successful, and I got to credit them because they're putting me in places I can get the ball, score it, facilitate, whatever they need me to do.
When you were a kid and you watched your the highlights of your dad playing for Michigan State, I gotta imagine you grew up in Michigan State, right? How cool is it now
Of course, yeah.
to be wearing that uniform, to be going into Chrysler Arena and knocking off Michigan, to be doing all of the things that you saw your dad have the opportunity to do? And I'm sure you've thought about this your entire life.
I mean, it's really special being able to put on that same jersey that my dad used to wear, play against the same teams. And it's really special, especially growing up on this rivalry, watching it so closely, being in it, honestly, as a spectator, now being as a player, it's really special.
When you had 29 earlier in the year, you broke your dad's record, right? His single game scoring record. I think it was 25. Have you given him shit for that?
No, he told me about it, though. I didn't know what his scoring record was. So I wasn't told until after that, and then he told me that I passed up his career high. I didn't really give him much for it, but I told him I got it. I got it.
Yeah. All right, Jase, right now, your dad laces them up. You guys play 1-on-1, 2-11, ones and twos. Who's winning?
Me. I think I'm winning. I think I'll score. Ooh, I'm going to go 11-7. Last time we played, I won, but I think now it would be more lopsided for my way because it was super close the last time we played.
And that's why it was the last time we played.
Yeah. I don't think he wants to play anymore.
He got hurt. He's always hurt now, Jase.
Jase,
Yeah.
this team is 22-5 and 13-3 in the Big Ten. Obviously, you dreamed of being a part of a season like this. When did you know that this team could be special?
I think after the Maui trip, I think that was the biggest turning point for us. We're kind of just getting used to each other. We had a whole bunch of group of new guys. We got 3 freshmen and new transfers. So I think we're just trying to build that chemistry, and I think Maui's where we changed shifts, went on a 13-game win streak, and we kind of just found our rhythm from there.
Have you seen a difference in Izzo throughout the season this year, Jase? Because obviously, I don't think a lot of people thought you guys would have the season you've had. Have you seen any difference in him at all?
Definitely. I definitely think as the season's gone on, he's just pushing us harder and harder, especially since we're getting close to possibly winning the conference championship here. So I think he's just been pushing us as hard as he can, especially with the goals that we have in mind.
Jase, what does the country not appreciate enough about Tom? You get to be coached by him. What do we not see about this guy?
How much of a good person he is, honestly. I think a lot of people don't see what he does for us off the court. He's there for us 24/7. He's such a great guy to all of us, all of our families, and he just does a lot for us.
Jase, it's been fun watching you, my man. It's been a lot of fun over the last few weeks, and I'm sure your dad is enjoying it probably even more than you are. So keep this thing going. That's a hell of a win tonight in Ann Arbor, and great having you on tonight.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Jase. Thank you, Jase.
course.
Enjoy that trip, that bus trip back to East Lansing. I'll tell you what.
You know, it's going to be fun, man. That is going to be a good bus ride.
You know, when you go big picture in the country now and March is around the corner, I know that Cooper Flag is at the top of the charts in terms of national storylines. But what we are watching right now, before we dive into the game itself, but Jeff, Tom Izzo in year 30, this year he's passed Bob Knight in the Big Ten wins column. He has gone from here in the national headlines to right up there. How amazing of a coaching job is this? And is it the best of his career?
I don't know if it's the best, but it's one of the best, right? Because we saw him earlier this year at Champions Classic against Kansas, and we all walked away saying what? Like, it's not that talented a team. I remember saying, like, I'm not sure Tom Izzo is ever going to be nationally – I probably said it on the show. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be a team where Tom Izzo has a chance to go to the Final Four again. I thought that ship had sailed unless he goes portaling. And instead now he didn't go portaling. He's got a freshman that has been absolutely sensational lately. And now they're in the mix. I don't know if they can go to a Final Four. But I think again, they're in the equation. Things would probably have to go right for them. But they have more talent than we thought. They've got pretty good role allocation. And they've got one of the best coaches in the country.
That young man that we just heard from is, to me, the difference maker, right? Because I think the thing that you know about this Michigan State team, they're going to do what Tom Izzo teams always do, right? You know that they are going to board hard. They're going to get on the offensive glass. They're going to get on the defensive glass. You know they're going to find a way to get out and transition, right? The question we have with this group is what happens when they're not able to get those offensive rebounds, when they're not able to beat you down the floor and get a layup in transition, when you got to execute in the half court. Because, let's be frank, they can't shoot a lick.
No. They don't even try to shoot that much.
But now they have a guy, right? You mentioned the Kansas game. You know how many shots Jase Richardson took in that game?
How many minutes did he play?
He took 5 shots in 20 minutes. He was anonymous. I honestly don't even really remember him doing anything.
Barely.
No.
He had 12 shots in 33 minutes tonight. He has had more than 10 shots in each of the last 5 games. And he's played at minimum 26 minutes and over 33 in 3 of those games. He, to me, is the difference maker because he is somebody where you could just give him the ball and say, go get us one. And they don't have that anywhere else on the roster.
But you know what else it is? It was earlier this week when they beat Purdue, and 8 guys had at least 7 points. Tonight, when you look, Richardson has 21. Jeremy Fears gives them 11. Jaden Akins gives them 10. And Trey Holloman had 18. They come at you in waves. That backcourt has 4 guys that on a given night can all go for double figures, and they all did tonight. The other thing, Jeff, in the first half, Michigan went zone. And Michigan State had 9 turnovers in the first half. The second half, just 2.
Yeah, the three-headed big man, like, it's not great, but we've seen glimpses. Like, Jackson Kohler was really good a week ago. He
beat the brakes off Illinois.
Cooper was pretty good. Yeah, they're not going to blow you away. And I think
they know that the thing that you said that was really important was role allocation.
Yeah, they know.
Those bigs know what they're supposed to do. Like, 100%. Go out there, be big, play hard, throw your weight around a little bit.
You're going to stay on the floor.
Whatever, right? You take a charge, whatever. You knock somebody over, you get a foul going for a rebound, whatever. Just go out there, be big, play hard, hit the glass. And that's all.
They know who they are.
Listen, the other thing, let's be clear here. Let's be honest. The Big Ten isn't that great at the top. It's not. It's not as great. There's not a high.
What about Wisconsin?
Team. Wisconsin's good. Purdue's good. Michigan's good. Michigan State's good. They're all good teams. They're not at the level of these SEC teams.
Okay,
they're not.
But who would be?
But here's the thing.
I'm just saying, like, they're at the top of that league, but that league is clearly a rung down from the SEC.
What isn't a rung down from the?
Would you put the Big 10 ahead of the Big 12 or the Big 12 ahead of the Big 10?
I would. In terms of what?
The top.
In terms of what?
I would bet on the top of the Big 12. If you said to me right now, will a Big 12 team or a Big 10 team make the Final Four? I would put money that it would be a Big 12 team.
Yeah, Houston is the best team out of that group, and then I think you can make the argument that you could take. If they're healthy,
if they're healthy,
they're missing.
We're going to get to that. Let me ask you this question, though.
Okay.
The answer is yes. Can Michigan State make a Final Four? Are they the team in the Big Ten that has the best shot to make the Final Four?
I'm going to look. I think on paper it's Wisconsin because they spread the floor. They're better offensively. They have guys that you could trust to take over a game. But I'm going to say this, like for the same reason why we sit here and we'll watch St. John's and we'll say, man, they can't really shoot, but God, they play hard and they really force turnovers. And they're just a Rick Pitino team coached by Rick Pitino. Like this is a Tom Izzo team coached by Tom Izzo. And at the end of the day, like I know he hasn't been great the last 5 years or whatever it is, but like it's freaking Tom Izzo, man. Like he's got a group that plays his style of basketball, and his style of basketball for a very long time has been very successful.
If you can't really shoot and you don't shoot, how deep are you going to go in the NCAA tournament?
I'm not very deep.
I'm going to say Purdue. If you told me right now, I would say Purdue and just hope that they don't run into a team that is able to get after them defensively.
I got a stat for you. Since 2012, there have only been 2 teams in the United States of America that have made it to the Final Four shooting 33.1% or worse.
I know who they are.
From 3.
Yeah,
who is it?
Who's on our platforms?
Rick Pitino's 2 teams.
Rick Pitino's 2012 Louisville that made it to the Final Four.
Russ Smith and Peyton Seaver
and Rick Pitino's 2013 national champions that made it that won the title. And both Peyton Seaver and Russ Smith quote tweeted us and we're like, oh, man, we're throwing up bricks. We can't. I thought we could shoot.
Get them on.
But it's in a world where a lot of coaches have hung it up. In year 30, this guy continues to find ways to churn out wins. And tonight, on the flip side here, Michigan drops to 12-3 in the Big Ten. They've still had an incredible season. Year. I will say this, Rob. Namari Burnett started the game strong. In the second half, Michigan State shut down Michigan's guards. If you look at the scoring in the second half, Michigan only managed 24 points, and their backcourt just could not. That's the other thing. Not only is this Michigan State backcourt have some versatility in terms of the scoring column, but they pressure the ball defensively. And other than Golden and Wolf.
Trey Donaldson, no points in 15 second half minutes. Reuben Jones, no points in 16. Who else? Donaldson and Burnett.
Golden scored 13 of the 24.
How many second half turnovers did they have as a team? 8. Yeah, that'll do it.
That's a top 20 KenPom offense.
Their only offense was by Golden in the second half.
Is that a concern for Michigan big picture?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have a point guard. Like that's been the knock on them all season long.
What Dusty's done is amazing, given that he doesn't have a point guard. Now, he's been able to use Danny Wolf as a de facto point forward. But, again, how deep can you go?
Michigan reminds me a little bit of Providence from, I believe it was 2022, which was a Providence team that you
2022
that you called lucky.
2022
was that 2022?
Yeah.
Sweet 16.
Like, Michigan has won a lot of really close games,
a ton,
and that doesn't like. I don't think that that's a knock on them because you got to be able to win those games, right?
Yeah.
But when you're winning a lot, when you're not blowing teams out, I think it's a sign that you're not a significant step above a lot of those other teams, and that I still think that Michigan is like they can get to the second weekend. I just think that there's a little bit of a cap on what their ceiling is. And I've thought that the whole season.
Yeah. Let's move forward here and talk about the news of earlier tonight. Michigan and Dusty May agreed to a contract extension. May in the midst of a 20-win season already. They're the first for the Wolverines in 4 years. Jeff, a lot of the people that are junkies are very tuned into this and understand why. But to the random out there who may not understand why Michigan and Dusty May went with a contract extension on Friday, February 21st in his first season. That's about as early into a tenure as you're going to see it. Why did this happen?
Because he had leverage. He had leverage at this point, and when he went into Bloomington Assembly Hall and beat Indiana a couple weeks ago, you heard his comments after the game. He was non-committal on his situation, right? They asked him, about him, being a candidate for Indiana, and he said, I love Michigan, but he didn't rule out completely Indiana at that point because it was a smart leverage play. As I said then, he signed a contract a year ago that was below market value completely. 5 years, which nobody does. And I think it was under $4 million a year, which was low for him at that point because he was in demand by several schools, right? Louisville, Vandy, everybody wanted Dusty May at that point. So this was the right thing to do for him right now. He knew he had leverage. The only place he was going to have leverage with this offseason was Indiana. He had to do this now, get another extension. You knew he was going to stay in Ann Arbor. Like, I knew he was going to stay in Ann Arbor because
if he wanted Indiana, wanted that kind of a program, he'd be at Louisville right now.
Right. Agreed.
If he wanted the fishbowl, he'd be at Louisville.
He loves the brand at Michigan. It fits him. He's not a guy who loves the
You know what I think it is? I told you this earlier. I think it's those like all yellow quarter zips that they got with the blue logo. Those things are nice.
They are nice.
Those things are nice.
And it's a dream scenario for Michigan. They nailed the hire.
He's winning, right?
He's winning.
Why would you leave right now?
No.
You've done a great job. Again, you've got a ton of resources there. Mm-hmm. You can also bring in your type of kids. You know, Michigan is a place that Dusty loves those high character kids, skilled. Look at what he's done with Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden, being able to play them together. He'll add a point guard next year. He'll have the money to be able to do that, the resources. There was no reason for him to go to Indiana and deal with a fishbowl. And here's what I will say in addition to that. He's got a lot of family in Bloomington. I think part of it also was like, I don't want to – what if I go back, things don't go well? I got to deal with my family living there. That's tough. That's a tough situation.
It is. It's a very tough situation. By the way, in a few moments, this is my way of, because we have up until 45 until our next break. In a few moments, we will reveal who Jeff Goodman thinks should be the man at Indiana. This is called a tease to build things up here, and we're going to get it out on social media so then you can release it. So I'm going to start with you on this before Jeff gives us the choice here. Now, knowing what Michigan does with May in the extension, I was talking on Louisville radio earlier today, and I thought it was interesting because they said to me, this was one of their afternoon shows on the local Louisville station. They said when Pat Kelsey got hired, there were some fans There were some fans throwing wood. There were some fans up in arms, Rob. Like fans that were actually ticked off about the hire because they didn't know about Pat Kelsey. They didn't know who he was. I know, it's crazy. They wanted Scott Drew. They wanted this huge name in the sport of college basketball. And so some Louisville fans were like, we're getting a guy from Charleston and he's going to win us a bunch of these games. Those people were out there. So before Jeff gives us who he thinks should be the man at Indiana, if you are Scott Dolson right now sitting down and you're looking at your situation, what are you looking for? And how do you balance splash with right hire?
I think you can't just go after the biggest name because it's the biggest name. And I think that's the trap that a lot of people fall into, right? I think the perfect example of that is Arkansas. You lose Eric Musselman and you go after the biggest name that you could possibly get in John Calipari, and I don't know if that's necessarily gone great, right?
No, you do know it has not gone great.
Yeah, Kentucky fans, there were Kentucky fans that were upset that they didn't get Scott Drew, they didn't get whoever else, and they ended up with Mark Pope. And, like, there's a world where Mark Pope and Pat Kelsey are, top 5 in National Coach of the Year? Maybe not top 5, top 10, whatever it is.
Yeah, they're right there.
They're right there. They're right there in the mix. And I do think that finding someone that wants to be there more than somebody that is using that as a leverage play or someone that is, that is just saying it's Indiana, so I want to be Indiana. I want to say I was a coach at Indiana, that is using it as their retirement. That's the thing that you have to be careful of. Without spoiling your take, I know it's probably not going to happen because of the baggage that he has coming along with it. But if you're just looking for the best ball coach that you can get, the answer is Chris Beard.
Sure, but there's baggage.
Yes.
Who Rick Pitino went to bat for earlier today.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
And then Rick Pitino proceeded to take his name out of the running for Indiana. So
and every running.
Yeah, out of every running.
But
Rick is never going to leave. Like, why would he ever leave? He's got St. John's nationally relevant. He can live in the city.
70s too. So it's like, where are you going to go at this point?
No, he loves his life in Mamaroneck. Sure. He has a private jet at the airport that's 10 minutes from St. John's campus. He goes to Miami to escape, not to be the head coach in the ACC in an empty building. He's happy at Madison Square Garden. You will see it on Sunday. He's got 19,000 plus. He's going to have another 14, 15 games. Now the Garden's coming to him and saying, can we get this matchup in here? He's living the dream. Yeah, he's one of the faces of the sport. All right, let's do this. All right. Here we go. Who should be the next man at Indiana?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Chris Beard. I really don't. I think he's down the list because of the baggage, because of the things that happened that I know he got cleared from, but that cost him his job at Texas. So to me, again, you went after Brad Stevens. I'm not even sure Dusty May was the guy that Scott Dolson necessarily wanted to go after. I'm not even sure he was the guy. The guy to me right now, it's easy. It's easy for me. And that's Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger. Absolutely fits. Look at what he's done there. They've been in the tournament every year since he took over. He's had a lot of head coaching experience. He's young enough that he can be there for 10, 12 years. He's got a culture there. They defend. They're better offensively. They went to the Sweet 16 last year. They might be able to go to the Final Four this year if they get healthy. The other part, guys, his buyout was really high a year ago. He renegotiated $4 million right now. $4 million, nothing. It's nothing. So the big question is, would TJ Otzelberger want that job? That's the big question. To me, it should be easy that Scott Dolson should want TJ Otzelberger. He checks every box. I guess the only box that he might not check is, again, the one like, does he want to be in the fishbowl? There's other coaches that probably enjoyed the limelight in the fishbowl more than TJ Otzelberger. But, man, he's a culture guy who works his ass off, who develops players, who can evaluate players. And, by the way, he's done it with a low payroll, and he's retained. Think of all the guys that could have went elsewhere after last year. All could have went elsewhere for more money. They decided to stick around with TJ Otzelberger.
That's a big thing. I think it was Randolph that made this point about Dusty. Like, he brought everybody back at FAU.
Yeah.
Everybody back that could have maybe made 3 or 4x what they ended up making at FAU. The only thing I'll say about that is, and I'm curious your guys' opinion, it would be concerning to me if I'm Scott Dolson, if I have to try to talk somebody into the Indiana job if they're worried about being in the fishbowl.
I disagree with that.
And the other, I feel like if you're worried about that, then that's something that I don't know if it's necessary. Like, because then you're going to get there and it's going to hit you, and it's not like having to talk somebody into going and moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, because that's a very different thing than
TJ's got it in him, though. It's not like he doesn't. I've known him for 20 years. TJ's got it in him. He's just been at a place at Iowa State that he hasn't had to deal with it. Hasn't had to go out and, talk, maybe knock on some doors and get people excited.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, winning trumps all. That guy's a winner. Yeah. His teams play hard as hell. Yep. Now, at Indiana, you have to touch people, meaning you've got to I'm saying you have to be front-facing with the fans. Yes. Like, it's not a job that you could just go hide in your house. I'm saying you have to. Like, but I think he's got it in him. He totally does. He's got that personality. You have to be able to get yourself out there, and I think he will. But sometimes you don't need to do that at a previous stop. This Iowa State and Indiana are two different jobs. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have it in him to do it. Scott Dolson, though, does have to. The Indiana administration does have to sell if they're going to get a candidate of Otzelberger's nature on why it's the right move, because he loves Iowa State.
Yeah, he loves Iowa State. They love him. The AD is awesome. Part of it is going to be, will Iowa State be priced out? That's going to be part of it. Right now, he's paid about $4 million. Iowa State probably can't go more than 5. Okay, probably can't. Now, Indiana, if they want to, to me, I would make him an offer of, let's say, 6 years at, $8 million a year. I would. You might not even have to go that high. Let's say 6 years at $7 a year. So $42 million, and you tell them what we have NIL-wise. Mm-hmm. That package is going to be better than Iowa State.
Do you want to stop getting it wrong or not?
Right.
Here's my next
question. Now,
again,
listen, I was wrong about Archie Miller. I was wrong on Indiana. But Archie Miller's personality really did not fit Indiana. Didn't fit the fishbowl.
Otzelberger's not like that.
No, TJ will go out and do it. Again,
you'll have every IU fan in a Schmedium shirt.
Yeah,
within minutes.
True. That's true.
Well, another question. I don't. I feel like I'm doing odds here, and I'm not. I think it would be a great hire there. But my next question would be, he's developed his culture at Iowa State with guys that are under-recruited,
Sure.
underappreciated, that don't need to make X amount of dollars. And we've seen part of the issue with Indiana this year is a lot of guys got a lot of money, a lot of guys got comfortable with all that money that they're making.
Yeah.
In Bloomington, which is a fun city to be a college student in. Can TJ coach guys that are making – he's probably going to get players that are making 7 figures at Indiana. Can he coach guys to play the way he wants them to play when they're making that much money in college? That is one of the questions that I would have about that. I would assume probably yes. I think you have to be smart about who you go after. Right?
Yes.
But it's Indiana, and you should be able to get the people that you want to be able to get in there. But that would be another.
You know what he
concern that I
does?
would have.
He puts together a team that fits, right? Like fit is important. He has been able to do that the last few years. Yeah. Will he pass on some guys that are probably super talented that Indiana fans will be like, how did we not go after him? Yeah, because I think character is going to be a huge part of, and it has been, of what TJ wants to establish. But I do think when you go down the list, and that's what I'll say. Okay, guys, let's continue to play this game quickly. Okay,
It's not
Mick
a great
Cronin,
list.
Mick Cronin. I just don't know if that works in Indiana. Everybody tells, well, he's like Bob Knight. Like, yeah, but Bob Knight doesn't work these days.
Bob Knight doesn't work now.
Doesn't work these days.
Here's-
Todd Golden. He's got some baggage, right or wrong. He was just cleared again, but it's recency baggage that I'm not sure. And he's young and he's kind of still unproven. Steve Alford's been passed over and over again, so I don't think he'll be in the mix.
Oh boy. I mean, I like Steve, but that'd be tough.
You
I mean,
can't
that's
get
just,
Scott Drew. You can't get Bruce Pearl. You can't get Rick
Right.
Pitino. You can't get Dusty and Brad are out. Brad Brunell, Greg McDermott. Greg McDermott is one I would absolutely look at
100%.
if he's all in. If Greg McDermott and TJ and Greg McDermott are boys, obviously.
easier to be when you have money, though.
Yeah, you're 60 years old. Are you all in? TJ is younger, hungrier.
The McDermott one is one that
It's intriguing.
Very intriguing.
Sure.
look.
Winner too.
He can
Great
scheme up
coach.
shots with the best of them.
Yes. Imagine
And
Indiana fans.
nobody in the state of Indiana,
Right.
or nobody that has more shooters per capita than the state of Indiana.
No, he'd be high up my list. All I'm saying is
the only problem with Greg is I think he's looking forward more to getting on the golf course than he is to getting to.
I don't think
Bloomington,
TJ
so-
plays golf.
And he can already do that a ton in Omaha, and he's got it made there.
Right.
He's king. He's king of that city. Not that the Indiana coach isn't, but it's a different type of king. There's tons and tons and tons of pressure. Here's the last thing I would say. What you just did is this. You ran through a pool of big names. Of the names who are realistic and also have a legitimate Final Four contender, the only one is Otzelberger. Think
And
about
his
it
bio,
that way.
again, his buyout is 4. Mick Cronin's buyout is 10. Mark
It's not
Byington's buyout, if you go that far down, is 12.
You're not paying $12 million for Mark Byington.
No.
When you
for the
could pay-
Vanderbilt team that's
right.
on the bubble,
Or
You're
probably
just-
10
you're
for
not doing it.
Mick Cronin.
TJ
I think
Otzelberger.
Mark, I think you're doing a great job this year. That's not a shot at you.
No,
But you're
he's
not paying
incredible
$12 million
job.
to
Incredible.
buy out Mark Byington. Right?
We got a break coming up. We'll start to preview Saturday's slate. We got a couple of key injury updates that he had earlier tonight because there's a big Houston-Iowa State game tomorrow. Some updates on that one. We got another top 10 showdown, A&M and Tennessee. We got Alabama, Kentucky, and we'll talk more. This is After Dark.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that.
Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Hummel podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
We got a lot of Saturday games ahead on the slate, another glorious college basketball slate. And just think of it this way, guys. You're down to 3. You're down to 3 regular season Saturdays left on the schedule. Tomorrow, March 1st and March 8th, and then it's Champ Week. I mean, we're 23 nights from right now, we will have a bracket. Wow. That's ridiculous. All right, so let's do it here. I'm going to whip around here. We got about 10 minutes. So you're not going to give both your thoughts on every single game, but let's start with Iowa State and Houston. A couple of Cyclone stars will be out tomorrow. What can you tell us?
Yeah, both Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones both out. Keyshawn's got a leg injury. He's out for a little bit. And Curtis Jones, illness, so he's out. So you're down 2 guys. Tomorrow you're playing Houston on College game day in Houston. And we know Tamin Lipsey hasn't been healthy all year. I mean, he's playing at 75% all year. He's just too tough to shut it down. So, I think the money probably going the way of the Houston Cougars in this one. I don't know what the line is, but
it was last I checked, it had gotten all the way up to 9.5. But yeah, Houston's winning this one. Yeah, I feel very confident in saying that, which means put all your money on the Iowa State money line.
Right. Number 6, Tennessee, at number 7, Texas A&M. A&M 9-4 in conference play. Tennessee at 8-5. 2 defensively oriented teams. The ball pressure in this one's going to be high. Could be a 1st to 50 game.
It's going to be the ugliest basketball game of the year. I feel very, very comfortable.
I don't know about that.
The ugliest basketball game of the year. There might be a lot of points scored, but it's going to be turnovers. There's going to be missed shots. There's going to be offensive rebounds. There's going to be some dunks. At least 2 broken noses. Maybe a chipped tooth.
A&M's favored by 1.5. Who's going to win the game in College Station?
Good old Rocky Top.
Wow. Didn't have him breaking out Xfinity Lives over here, though, tonight. He might be heading out.
Feeling pretty good. Yeah. They got karaoke over there.
Anyway. What do you think, Buzz or
I'm going
Rick
with the Buzzsaw. I'm going with the Buzzsaw on this one at home. I like this team now. They got 2 guards that can put it on the floor. Take some, Zurich Phelps really takes some pressure off Wade Taylor, and they play so hard.
They do, and they're built for Buzz Williams. Yeah. I despise watching them play. I'm really? Sorry, A&M. It's ISO ball. Let Wade Taylor take a shot, and then go try to get the offensive rebound. Let Zurich Phelps take a shot. Go try to get the.
No, it's true. It's true.
Look,
I just don't enjoy watching that.
In a game of 2 terrific defenses, it's which backcourt's going to step up in this one. You got Taylor and Phelps on one side, and you've got Ziegler and Lanier on the other. Tennessee, I will say this about them. They lost to Kentucky last week. They did not look very good against Vandy. They needed a valiant second half. You wonder, did Barnes just say, bury him off the game? Like, hey, we won tonight, but we better be ready for College Station. Or A&M. A&M's coming off an ugly performance against Miss State. Timing is everything. I'm with you. I like A&M at home to just grind it out and find a way. Let's move on. Alabama is hosting the shorthanded Kentucky Wildcats. Offense will be aplenty. Do you like the Crimson Tide to respond?
Jackson, no Lamont Butler. Have we gotten the
I don't know if it's come out yet. It probably is already out if they're playing.
My guess is we would have got someone would have tweeted it. But either way, I doubt that they would be playing. I think we would have gotten a little bit more heads up about it. But if you don't have Jackson Robinson and you don't have Lamont Butler, it's going to be –
Any concerns about Alabama after the other night?
A little bit.
I have a little bit. They kind of got punked physically, and the concern about them is they're not the 3-point shooting team we thought that they were going to be this year. And if you're not this great 3-point shooting team, and you're getting punked physically as well, it's a little bit of a concern, right? Because their whole thing was, all right, we're not as good of a 3-point shooting team, but we're going to get to the offensive glass. We're better defensively.
They're both out.
Yeah, they're both out.
For Dagan Hughes.
Yeah, that's trouble.
And Alabama coming off of these losses,
I think this is going to be a get-right game for Alabama. I could see them winning this one by
20.
Yeah, double digits.
I think so, too.
Last time we said this,
we were wrong.
Kentucky went into Tennessee and won that game.
We're never
So-
right. I mean, we're
Put all your money, folks, all your money on Kentucky money line. After you win that one, then put all your money on the Iowa State
Great.
money line. And we're all going to be rich tomorrow.
bubble game for the home team. This is the game. They are right ahead of the cut line and are feeling the 68 every Monday and Friday. You can see the archive of the show earlier tonight. They are in our last four in. SMU is hosting Clemson.
Yeah.
Will Andy Enfield get the first quad one win for the Mustangs of the season? They have to win this game.
They do. I don't think they get it. I think Clemson ends up winning on the road. Clemson's been sneaky good, and I don't think we've given them enough credit for what they've done, not only this year, but last year as well. And losing P.J. Hall, Brad Burnell's done a hell of a job with this team. I think Jaden Zachary was one of the most underrated additions because he brings them that toughness, a guy who can guard anybody. He makes enough shots. So I'm going Clemson on the road.
I tend to agree. Yeah. I think it's going to be Clemson. Ian Shufflin's going to be too much inside. I just think Brad Burnell finds a way to be able to get this done. I don't trust SMU this year.
I don't either.
I just don't trust them.
But the desperation, I have picked the ponies twice on this Friday night show this season and have been the pony's flown by me.
You're out of
the pony doesn't want me riding it. Well, I'm hopping back on the horse, and I'm going to take SMU. I'm going to take the Mustangs, and George W. Bush comes out a winner tomorrow. What do you got?
Slate
Phenomenal. That's what I was just going to run to.
Holy crap. And we're going to be at the Garden.
For Duke, Illinois.
For Duke, Villanova.
And Dauster's going to have his laptop up and the 4 games.
We're watching 4 games at one time, baby.
So let's run through. Let's run through here because we got about 2 minutes. So in the 8 o'clock window here, you're talking about Duke and Illinois. You're talking about St. Mary's and Gonzaga.
Yeah,
at Gonzaga.
Big game for the Zags.
Give me more here. What else we got?
Gonzaga's the other ones.
Missouri at Arkansas.
If Arkansas wins that game, they're probably on the right side of the bubble or right there. They're right there.
I think this is the game for Arkansas.
And then you got San Diego State at Utah State, a great Mountain West game at 8 o'clock.
Okay, so Missouri at Arkansas. Do you think Cal breaks through tomorrow against Missouri?
I do not. Give me the Tigers. Give me Dennis
Whoa.
Gates. Yeah, they're rolling, baby.
I mean,
they are rolling.
Defensively, they're so tough to play against, and we know Arkansas's guard play not the steadiest.
Mm-hmm.
Duke is favored by 8.5. Do they roll?
Cooper at the Garden. I'm so excited for this tomorrow night. John Shire talked to Hummel and I about this, and obviously they played there last year, and how it was the atmosphere. It's going to be insane. I'll take Duke. I'm going to take Duke.
Yeah, I think Cooper Flag has
goes off.
I think he has a hello.
I think we see why Duke can cut down the nets in April on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden. We shall see. And then it's UConn St. John's on Sunday, which just a huge weekend. These guys are off to New York next. We'll be there tomorrow night. Any toast of the night before we get off the air? Just say a name.
Jordan Dumont, man. How is it not Jordan Dumont?
Yeah, the Canadian. Give it to the Canadians.
Jase Richardson, and one more toast, Chris Mack, who goes for his 300th career win tomorrow here in Philadelphia when Charleston meets Drexel. Huge Saturday slate ahead. Check out all our platforms. Check out our Feeling the 68 bracketology as well. He's Rob, he's Jeff, I'm John. Thanks to Dagan Hughes. Good night.